Path of the Teal Lotus is a platform-heavy Metroidvania inspired by Japanese folklore with stunning visuals, creative level design and breathtaking boss fights. You play as Bo, a celestial being that has to fulfill an ancient prophecy, but as you would expect, it's not going to be an easy task. I wouldn't say this game is very story driven, but it does have some decent amount of cutscenes and dialogues between Bo and NPCs. If you really care about the lore of this game, you have the option to read all these scrolls that tell you more about events that have happened in the past, or some backstory about certain characters or enemies. But the game is already interesting enough without these scrolls, in my opinion. My favorite kind of Metroidvania is a Metroidvania with fun movement-based abilities and creative level design. And this game gave me exactly that. You feel like an acrobat, because you refresh your jump each time when you hit an enemy or certain objects, so you will be able to do a lot of awesome moves in mid-air while not touching the ground for a while. I really enjoyed this alternative to a double jump. It's also really well implemented in the overall level design. But the hitbox can be a bit finicky sometimes, especially if you are moving upward in a straight line. But the level design is so dynamic and fast paced that I can't complain too much about it. There were even 2 challenging platform sequences that gave me goosebumps because of how awesome they were. I just loved how you were able to stay in mid-air for so long if you don't lose your focus. Some platform sections are a giant difficulty spike though. I wouldn't call this game difficult because most boss fights and like general enemy types aren't that hard to beat, but there are for sure some instant reset moments that can make your blood boil. So I would say the difficulty curve can be a bit unfair. The combat is pretty simplistic. You have your main weapon for short ranged attacks and you can use these Daruma dolls for more ranged and area of effect attacks. You do unlock some new attacks along the way, but these are pretty standard as well. This game does borrow some moves from other Metroidvanias, like the bash ability from the Ori games and the pogo ability that feels really similar to Hollow Knight, but I didn't mind it at all. It works great for the most part, and it makes the simplistic combat so much more engaging because you are able to fly all over the place. So yeah, I wish the combat was a bit more fleshed out, but I can't lie, I really like platform heavy Metroidvanias, so I'm a bit biased here, and that's why it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But you know what is a big deal for me though? It's how short and kinda linear this game is. A casual playthrough may take you like 6 to 8 hours, and I was expecting at least the double amount of those hours. And while each area looks gorgeous and I really liked their carefully crafted level design, there aren't that many to visit, and for an interconnected world, it's really obvious where you have to go next. There's even an NPC sometimes that will tell you which ability you need to access a new area. And sure, this will probably make the game more accessible to less experienced players, but I can imagine it can also ruin the exploration for more veteran players. The boss fights can really differ in difficulty, but I liked every single one of them for different reasons. They all were spectacular fights, but a few of them had some fun platforming challenges or they had multiple opponents to deal with, and this made them really stand out from the other fights. These specific boss fights were one of the best boss fights I have ever experienced in this genre. So while some other aspects about what makes a great Metroidvania let me down, the boss fights definitely didn't. I have some favorites for sure, but like I said before, I liked every single one of them. The side content and optional unlockables are mostly fetch quests and collecting items that will give you perks like faster attacks or dealing more damage when you are low HP or full HP, or finding these little creatures that will help you with expanding the main hub, so you will have more shops to visit where you can upgrade your healing ability, your health, your Daruma dolls and your attack damage for example. Most side quests are pretty easy to complete, except for one that gives you this optional challenge to deliver a very fragile egg that will break after you get hit once, while you have to traverse through arguably the most difficult area in the game. So in general, while some aspects of Path of the Teal Lotus let me down, I still really enjoyed this game because I love the platforming and the boss fights. Like I said, I'm a bit biased when it comes to platform heavy Metroidvanias, but this game really managed to satisfy me with its creative level design and fast paced gameplay. I fell in love with this world and its characters. Every screen is worth a screenshot, and some platform sequences blew my mind and were very satisfying to overcome. I do have to warn you, it's relying a lot on this alternative version of a double jump, so if you aren't a big fan of this mechanic and don't like a lot of aerial combat, it can start to feel like a repetitive gimmick after a while. But if this mechanic looks like a fun challenge to you, I can't recommend this game enough. It took me 6 hours to finish this game, and if you would like to 100% complete it, it would probably add like 2 hours to the overall game time. I personally had a blast with this game, and even though it isn't perfect, and there are Metroidvanias with a more extensive world and less linear exploration, I highly recommend it if you are, just like me, a big fan of creative level design and challenging platform sequences. I also highly recommend to give the soundtrack a try. It's really awesome, and I just can't stop listening to a few songs. So be ready to dive into this breathtaking world inspired by Japanese folklore and use your acrobatic skills to become the prophesied hero.